Okay, so I have built, as you can see on the right side of my screen, a whole stable of characters, and I just want to take a little bit of time to talk about them. Not all at once, that would be madness. Instead, one at a time. But you can look at the titles I've given them and let your imagination run wild. So, what I've done here is I've built a level 1 and a level 5 version of each of these characters. Basically, because when I build a character, it needs to come online by level 5. A lot of games that I have participated in didn't last much longer, or in some cases, even until level 5. So I don't find theory crafting in excess of level 7 to be worthwhile. So, level 5 characters. Um, this is my blaster. This is level 1 version of the blaster. It's a sorcerer because I like not having to worry about spellbooks. um, there is an argument for this build to be made as an Arcanist instead. The Arcanist has the ability where you spend a point and you get +2 caster level or +2 save DC on your spell, which is good, but since most spells have a point that they cap out at, where no additional caster level results in additional dice of damage, uh, what Arcanist does is it nets us an initial boost and long term not really any better. In fact, in some ways, not as good because of bloodline mutations. So, Sorcerer. Um, I primarily built these characters with a consideration for their mechanical aspects, but there are some things that make me think of these characters in particular ways. So I'll probably comment on sort of who I think a character is at some point while I do this. So this one's particularly interesting because it literally does not matter what race you choose. I make the assumption that we'll pick a race that will give me a bump to my charisma, but I don't actually care. I picked Pathfinder Society just so that my traits validation would not yell at me. Um, you can see I have Dark Vision because I have Orc Blood, and then there's some Pathfinder Society stuff here that probably not actually impact whatever game I'm in. So yeah, we have abilities. Dexterity I like to have as a secondary emphasis for my sorcerers because bonus points in dexterity means more armor class, but also it means if I'm using any kind of ray spell or a ranged attack or a ranged touch attack, um, I have some bonus to fall back on. In this case, I have pulled some points out of wisdom to make that happen, which is bad because my will save is negative. But this is a blaster character, so I'm sort of thinking of this character as a um, a sort of a rash character who's spoiling for a fight, right? He wants to get out there and, in this case, burn things down. So I pulled out of Wiz. I could have easily pulled out of Con. It is generally my philosophy that it is okay to pull points out of Con. My belief is basically that at low levels, it's actually relatively easy to stay alive, right? Most pre-made adventures, and frankly, most game masters at level 1 kind of want to see you succeed and not die horribly, which I think is a positive attribute. And then at high levels, especially as a spellcaster, you should be trying not to be a target because the things that hit you are going to be able to hit you for large numbers. And the extra 5 or 10 hit points you get from having a +1 or a +2 in Constitution is probably not going to save you when you get crit by an ogre's magical great axe. So if I lose a couple of hit points per level, I generally don't fret about it. So another thing that I've done here that you could have seen on the first tab, but I didn't comment on it, was I've gone with cross-blooded for this build. Um, I think the cross-blooded option is a trap. It is a bad option for a sorcerer who wants to do anything but deal damage with a level 1 or a level 2 spell. This character is built with the idea that they're going to use a low level spell to do a ton of damage out of the gate. So in this case, it kind of works, but I'm not sure it's actually mechanically the best thing to do. But if you just want somebody who's full of fiery passion and burning people down, this is a way you can do it. My spell selection is pretty straightforward. My favorite element out of pretty much anything is electricity, so I pretty much always will take Jolt as my damaging cantrip. Mage Hand and Prestidigitation, they're staples. I have Dark Vision, whatever. Burning Hands. Burning Hands is the crux of this build. I could have used basically any first level damaging spell. I know that if you play a Magus, Shocking Grasp is a favorite. But as a sorcerer, I don't actually want to have to touch people. I like to be able to stand 10 to 15 feet away from them. Also, Snowball is an option. Snowball has been nerfed, so it no longer has the debuff rider on it, but it's still a 1d6 per level. It's a range touch attack. It's pretty good. Oh, I briefly considered making this build using Magic Missile, but ultimately I decided I wanted to go with Burning Hands. Burning Hands only does 1d4 per level, up to a maximum of 5d4. But it does have the ability to hit multiple targets. And I felt like the option to sometimes hit multiple targets was worth going with a D4 over a D6 for Snowball, which would have probably been the next best choice. Snowball, of course, only hits one target. This is a 15-foot cone. Is that what it says? Where are we? Yes, 15-foot cone. So it's 1, 2, 3. So this hits a maximum of 6 squares. If I have my way, I'm never going to cast a spell when there's a person who can make an attack of opportunity against me, which means that at maximum I can hope to hit 5 people. But if I can point my hand over there and I can shoot 2 people who are standing not quite adjacent to each other, that will make the choice worthwhile. Save DC is 16, so there's probably going to be a fair amount of people who make the save for half damage. At first level, I get 4 per day, which is pretty good. That's that. Oh, relevant features. The relevant features of the Orcish Bloodline is that I get. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. Oh yeah, here we go. Whenever you cast a spell that deals damage, that spell deals plus 1 point of damage per die roll. It's beautiful. And then I crossed to Draconic, and it says, if I scroll down here just to, oh, I can't scroll down. Well, the important part is that I chose Brass Dragon. Brass Dragons have fire affinity. If I cast a spell that deals fire damage, I get plus 1 point of damage per die. So it's when I cast Burning Hands, plus 2 points of damage per die. And then I have this helpful chart. Sorry, my mic is acting up a little bit. So I have this other helpful chart, helpful ability here. And this ability is that I add, just like my Orcish Bloodline, plus 1 point of damage per die for every damaging spell that I cast. which is great, and it specifically applies to things that I have spell focus, schools I have spell focus in, or spells that are bloodline spells. Which, if we come look, Burning Hands is a bloodline spell for Orcish, Orcish bloodline. So that'll apply. It's great. Now I'm up to plus 3 points of damage. So 1d4 plus 3. Um, yeah, and we'll jump over the skills. Bluff, Craft Alchemy, Intimidate, and that is it. Craft Alchemy I took exclusively because it lets me build Alchemist's Fire, and this character's a firebug. What are you going to do? Might be interesting to set him up as a goblin. I don't know what the goblin stats are. If it hurts my charisma, it's probably not worth it. Bluff, basically just to feint with in the event that that becomes a thing. And Intimidate, because if you're burning people down, it seems like you should be able to intimidate them. There's no knowledge skills at all. This is a guy who flies by the seat of his pants on pure instinct, full of fiery passion. I did take Spell Focus Evocation just basically for bonus spell DC, because the more often people fail their saving throw, the more damage I deal. I took Power Hungry as a drawback. I get a -2 penalty to my will saving throws against charms and compulsions if the creature promises wealth or power. By the time I got here, I felt like that was who this character was. I enjoy Power Hungry as a disability in general, or a drawback in general. So we went for it. We're using Wei Yang Spell Hunter and Magical Lineage, both of which basically let me pick a spell, and if I apply a meta magic feat, that meta magic takes off two fewer levels because of their combined effect. So they're both applied to Burning Hands. And then I took Defender of the Society, which says that if I'm wearing medium or heavy armor, I get +1 armor class. Okay. I literally don't carry a weapon because why would I? If I could get, actually, I should say, if I could get my GM to say that I could carry a Battle Aspergillium and fill it with Alchemist's Fire, then I would carry a melee weapon just for that. Like, it would be so ridiculous, but also so perfect for this character. Excuse me. You can see that I am wearing armor. The Haramaki is +1 AC and no arcane spell failure, and then I did the custom armor thing to add an armored kilt to it, which also gives me +1 and no arcane spell failure. So I get 3 AC from this, I get 2 from my dex. I actually have 15 armor class, which is not bad for a first level character. Not great, but passable. No magical items, no other gear. A lot of this stuff just isn't really relevant, so I didn't bother filling in the portions of the character sheet that don't have any relevance at this point. So, special abilities in play. I don't have any temporary modifiers to account for there. So yeah, the big accomplishment of this character, sort of two things at level 1. One is that he gets a 15 armor class because he's wearing armor and he has a trait bonus that gives him bonus armor class. He's a little slower than a sorcerer normally would be. And then I get +3 to my damage every time I cast Burning Hands, which will be exactly 4 times a day because that's what I can do, so I'm going to go for it. So Burning Hands is 1d4 at this point, so it becomes 1d4 +3, which is 4 to 7 points of damage. Alright, so I'm going to jump over here to the level 5 version of this character just to go over the differences. I didn't select an ability increase here because I wanted to just mention there's sort of two ways to go about this. If I had been using Snowball or something that used a attack roll, I would put that point to Dexterity, no question, bump that up to 16. Because I'm not doing that, I would probably drop it into Charisma instead just to get that up. Wouldn't do anything at 5, would at 8. I could theoretically also put it into Wisdom to make my bad saving throw penalty less bad. Anyway, all of those are viable options. I don't really have a strong opinion, so moving right along. I did pick an extra skill point at every level, which is only kind of noteworthy. Again, race doesn't matter. Neutral evil, this guy just cares about his adrenaline rush is really what I am coming down on here. Those haven't changed. Still Orc and Brass Dragon. So my spells have been filled out a little bit. Detect Magic and Penumbra. I should probably actually go back and switch Penumbra to be one of the spells I take at level 1 because Orc Bloodline gives me daylight sensitivity, and Penumbra protects you from that. Obviously, Burning Hands is still here. I picked up Mage Armor as a Bloodline spell. I picked up Shield. Mage Armor is not that exciting because I get 3 points of actual armor, but Bloodline spells, what are you going to do? I get Shield, I took Color Spray, and then Coin Shot. I actually really like the idea of Coin Shot as a spell. I would have to talk to my DM if I ever actually built this character for use in a game. If I could use Coin Shot with my Orc Bloodline, Draconic Bloodline, Blood Havoc, all of that nonsense, I would do Coin Shot over Burning Hands. It turns 3 coins into deadly projectiles, and then you huck them at people. Depending on if you have copper, silver, gold, or platinum, they deal more damage, or they overcome different types of damage resistance. I really like Coin Shot. I think it's a really fun spell. And if I could get my damage bonus, this character would be based around Coin Shot instead. One of the especially nice things about Coin Shot is since it creates 3 projectiles, you can cast the spell once, and then it sustains you for a minimum of 3 turns. With Burning Hand, I cast it once at the end of the turn. That's it. It's an instantaneous effect. I don't think, balance-wise, it would be a problem. For one, I have to burn through money in order to do it, and I fully anticipate having the rule that ammunition is destroyed when you fire it apply here, because it's a spell, and that's just that. So, it costs money. It would be silly to allow me to eschew materials in this case, so I wouldn't rely on that. But I think blasting with your wallet in this case could be a lot of fun. The coins don't deal, they never stage up, right? So one copper coin never gets to be 2d4 or 3d4 or 4d4. It's always 1d4 points of damage. So in some ways, it's a little less optimal than what I've got, but it's like I say, it's just so much fun. Where was I? Color Spray. Oh, for my second level spell, I took Create Pit because I feel like Create Pit solves problems. I considered taking See Invisibility, but Create Pit just seemed like more fun. And you can see I now have taken the Empowered Metamagic feat, so I have a favorite Metamagic spell down here, Empowered Burning Hands. So it's just 50% more damage. Yeah. Nothing new to report in the Bloodline mutations. Deals. Oh yeah, this interferes with intensified is why we didn't take it. So that's fine. We're probably not actually taking intensified. It doesn't matter. I could take this and add a few extra points of damage. But I didn't. So my bluff is super high. My craft alchemy is competent, and my intimidate's pretty good. So I'm not a face, right? But I can feint, I can lie to people, I can demoralize people, and I can make bottles of liquid fire. Or actually, bottled lightning is a thing. I can make that. Feats. I took Empower Spell because of course I did, and I took Spell Penetration because this is a character that Spell Penetration is going to be a thing for. If I was willing to give up a point of DC for my blasts, I could do Spell Penetration and Greater Spell Penetration. And I think that Spell Penetration, Greater Spell Penetration, and I think it's called the Piercing Rod, the rod that gives you more Spell Penetration. I think between those three things, you have an acceptable amount of Spell Penetration. So, for this build, I kind of split my focus, which is not the best, but it's going to depend on what the game you're running in is like. Do you need more spell DC? Do you need more spell resist? Because I'd rather have somebody save for half than have me fail spell penetration and have them just take no damage. And I'm relatively certain Burning Hands. Yeah, spell resistance, yes. Okay, so feats. That's where we are. So that's it. Not too much else here has changed. Still power hungry. Still defender of the society. Still don't have a weapon. But now I'm up to casting Burning Hands 7 times per day. I'm going to want to get my hands on some of those, what are they, runes for Pearls of Power or whatever they are. Stuff that gives me a couple extra spell slots. I didn't do any, you can see I didn't change the wealth. The wealth still says I started with 150 GP instead of level 5 wealth. I can add some magical armor to this build, which would give me a couple extra points of AC, which would be nice. That's basically it. I still don't have any special in-play adjustments. It's just a guy who rushes in the battle and burns things down. So now we're at 5d4 plus 50%. So, no, it's 5d4 plus 3 per die. So 5d4 plus 15 plus 50%. So that's 32. Whatever 35 plus half of that is. 35 plus 17. 52. So 30 to 52 damage. Is that where we came down on? That's it. That's how you solve problems. So the natural drawback of fire is that it's the most resisted damage type in the game. But at level 5, most of the things that are resisting your fire are going to resist it in 5 or 10 point increments. So we're just going to overcome that by throwing 52 points of damage, potentially, down the line at it. Just hit it, hammer it hard enough, and it doesn't matter that it's resistant. If something is fire immune, I'm screwed. That's basically when you color spray him in the face and you haul ass in the other direction. That's it. That's what my contingency plan consists of. So this character does not stand very well alone. He's definitely the kind of character who just needs to be aware of the positioning in the party. He definitely needs a frontliner, a tank, or at the very least a competent melee to stand beside / behind. He's your classic glass cannon. It's just what it is. So, I'm just gonna go ahead and click through here and see what Goblin has to say. -2 charisma. I'm not thrilled about that. That was almost a good idea. So probably. In fact, there's a plus. Ifrit, you see, has +2 Dex, -2 Wiz, +2 Charisma modifier. Man, that would make my will save terrible. But I think I would really enjoy running this character as an Ifrit, just a man consumed by passions, consuming everyone else with fire. Um, and there you go. Ooh, I'm bumped up to 8 a day. That was nice. All right, I think that's everything interesting there was to say about that. Um, Once again, I hope this is useful and or interesting. And if you have any questions about that character, let me know, and I will be happy to go over them.